What is happening, you guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast, where we are here to help you be happy, healthy, wealthy, and get better every single day. The conversation that we are about to have, this gentleman, he's just so cool and authentic, and he talks about these amazing laws, and we're talking universal laws that are applicable in everyday life. The conversation is incredible. It could have gone twice as long, 3 times as long, very, very easily. But get ready. Israel Duran is an entrepreneur, speaker, and authority building strategist. He helps business owners, and coaches turn their expertise into scalable 7-figure businesses. Through his service of speaking framework, he has generated over $2 million in 24 months by positioning experts on high-profile stages and landing high-ticket clients. With a TEDx talk and a 300,000 plus person community, Israel specializes in transforming entrepreneurs into industry authorities, commanding premium speaking fees. Well, Israel, brother, it is just a pleasure getting to have you on the show, chatting with you off stage. Man, this can be an amazing conversation. How you doing today, brother?
I am blessed and highly favored and happy and better now that I'm on this podcast with you. I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah, me too. You know, you said something off air that we may as well get to it, because I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. You said, I'm in this season, and you said, I think I'll paraphrase for a moment, God is kind of teaching me to, teach these things to your students about things that maybe you take for granted, maybe things that you're like, oh yeah, everyone should know that. One of the cardinal sins I think all of us coaches have done. Tell me about that, man. That I found that fascinating, that in our brief time off air that you mentioned that. I was like, oh dude, this is gold right there.
Yeah, like for me, I didn't come from money. My dad, 29 years old, his name is Domingo Duran. Unfortunately, one day he had an experience where he had a bunch of chest pains on his left side, and he went to the hospital, waited about 3.5 hours at the ER, and for whatever reason, they didn't attend him. He went back home and he had a massive heart attack. And my mom found him in that condition. I was about 3 months when my dad passed. And growing up, I grew up with a lot of wounds, a lot of difficult moments. Not a sob story or anything, but I had to grow up quickly, right? And one of the things that I really am thankful for my mom raising me until I was about 5 as a single mother, but then my bonus dad came into my life. One of the things that I appreciate is that they did the best that they could do with what they knew, right? With the education that they received, even though my mom's a doctor in the Dominican Republic, she wasn't able to transfer the license. She did the best that she can do. And, by God's grace, I didn't want to go through that same difficulty. So, through a series of circumstances, events, mentors, connections, I've been able to become the first millionaire in my family. And I didn't become a millionaire until I had the mindset. Like, I first had to unlock the millionaire mindset before it actually happened. I had to get it here before it actually came here, right? So, this month, I was just thinking about, like, sometimes we forget where we came from. Not in a bad, it's not like we forget, but it's like we forget some of the principles, the laws, the teachings, the mindset, right? The beliefs that we shifted to help us get to where we are now. And that's why I alluded to what I said earlier on our pre-call here.
Yeah, so there's 2 things I want to hit on there. The millionaire mindset. We got to talk about it, because it's not a cliche. It's true. And you hear it again and again and again. But I think sometimes we gloss over it. It's like, well, I had to obtain abundance, or I had to obtain, overcoming self-limiting beliefs. I'm curious, man, when you say that, what was the shift? Because it truly does, in my opinion, you are not a product of your circumstances. They are a product of your choices. What I mean by that is, it doesn't matter if you came from money or didn't. Right? You made a decision like, I'm not going to be, broke. I'm going to thrive and be abundant. What was that shift? I guess is what I'm trying to get to, brother. What was it where you were like, okay, now I'm starting to think differently. Now I'm starting to act differently. Now I'm starting to attract abundance into my life.
Amazing question. For me, it started, it's going to sound weird, but I had to unlearn some things first that were false to then relearn some things to get me clear. I'm like, wait a second, this is for me and I'm going to go after it. Because if you don't believe something is for you, you'll never try to go after it, right? It's kind of like Earl Nightingale used to say, before you can, you first must believe that you can. So like for me, like, and part of my history, the things I went through as a young boy at the age of 7, I went to a near-death experience at the age of 7. I talk about it during my TEDx talk. But I had an experience with God, with my faith. And, I used to think, because of ignorance, that money was evil. Nobody ever said that to me, but I, heard people condemning and, saying different things, but nobody ever said that to me directly. I just assumed, because, you hear things, but you don't really understand them, and then you just creates beliefs. So I believe that, to be fully transparent, I believe that money was evil. I was that guy that used to literally condemn others and say, oh, if they have money, they should be doing this with the money, and they should, until I got some money and things changed, right? But I used to be the guy that used to condemn others because I just didn't know. I didn't have the right education. I was ignorant. And I had to unlearn that wait a second, money is not evil at all. When you really look into, like, for me, like the word of God, the Bible, like for me, I found out that actually the Bible says opposite, and that was really the thing that I had to unlearn and then relearn what it actually teaches, that empowered me with the mindset to say, wait a second, I can do this, and I can break records, and I'm going to do it, and I am doing it, and I'm going to teach others to do the same. So that's what I'm about now.
Yeah, it's kind of a funky line, and what I mean by that is because I didn't have a great, and I've talked about it many times on my show, where I didn't have a great mindset around money either, right? I was taught that it was for other people, and not that it was the root of evil, but it wasn't for me. Basically, that was kind of the message that came through loud and clear from my dad, is like, that was for the pretty people, that was for everyone else. And I guess my question is, brother, and I'm curious for you, when you did make, you said first millionaire in your family, did you kind of make all the mistakes that people do when they get money? Like, man, I'm spending on the wrong stuff. Now I'm focusing on the wrong area. And my question is, how do we ground ourselves back to where we came from and yet have the abundant mindset? Because I think that's where it gets kind of funky is You're like, all right, I got an abundant mindset. I've created this wealth, but now I'm spending on stupid stuff, right? And I have many examples. I'm happy to fall on the sword. Yeah. But then there's also that ability to say, I want to stay grounded. I want to appreciate. I want to give back. Have you found out how to really do that, consistently?
Well, first off, 100%. I've made a lot of mistakes in counting. I learned from my mistakes. And I just want to also start at the end of your question. My mindset is I don't give back, because then that implies I owe someone something, and that was kind of like the mindset that was holding me back in the front end. It's more of like I pay it forward, but the mindset really increased and really helped me to kind of like get my stuff in order when I understood that money is actually inherently good. Like, I had to come to the realization that money is not. People say money is a tool. Nah, it's more than a tool. Money is inherently actually good. And people tell me, like, how could you say that? And you're someone that claimed that, that you're a person of faith. I'm like, because I actually read the book. I actually open it up. Like, if you go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 11 through 12, you'll see that God clearly says in the beginning of the book that money's good. But what happens is people read the back of the book and they'll pull something out of context to make a point, because one person one day made a mistake, and then they'll create a whole doctrine, and then they'll destroy a lot of people, because ignorance is what was destroying me in my life. And, so I had to really come to that realization that, wait a second, God says that gold is good. That's what he says. And gold, back in the day before 1972, before President Nixon changed the gold standard and removed the backing of the silver dollar, back in the day, gold and silver backed every U.S. paper currency. Today, it's fiat currency. It doesn't have the value. Only you and I get what you and I give it, right? So now that I understand, like, wait a second, God says money's good. It gave myself permission to say, well, if God says that it's good, I'm a good person, so I'm going to have money. Because what I used to think was, I'm a good person, money's evil. I'm going to reject money and every time I had it, to be fully transparent, I did exactly what you said. I made a lot of money, but I would just waste it on, silly stuff or give it away, because subconsciously I was a good person. Money's evil. I don't want to be associated with it. And it wasn't until I made that shift that it gave me the right mindset to start to say, wait a second, I'm a steward. Like, this is not even mine. I'm going to be here today and be in the next life or with God when he decides to call me home. So I need to make sure like I'm really managing my resources, but I was just stuck. I didn't know what I didn't know. And thankfully was able to learn through falling.
What was the moment when the mindset shift had been in place, and it sounds like speaking has been really a gift that you have? Well, whether you learned that early in life or somehow along the way you found your passion. I'd love to hear that. But service of speaking framework, right? That's yours. And the TEDx talk, and now you have 300,000 plus people. I mean, these are not easy accomplishments to do. Trust me, guys. I've been working on a lot of these things for years. So when was it where you were like, boom, I got it? Was it? And I know it's not that moment. I understand there was years of work and work. I imagine. You know what? I shouldn't say that. I'm guessing there was definitely work put in.
For
but
sure.
when was it where you were like, dang, I got it, man. I kind of unlocked the code.
To be fully transparent, like for me, I keep having those moments. Like I can tell you the first time, but it's like I just had a moment, just like what you said, like last month. And it's not about the money, because before I used to think that $10 million was a lot of money. Like I used to have that belief that $10 million was a lot of money. Now I look at $10 million, I'm like, it's, it's like, it's a stepping stone, right? Like for me, it's like the growth and being able to really expand and stretch like behind my belief and then be able to transfer that to others and help others. So now I'm just like super focused on like the little things that I think they're little now. Like even the question you asked now, I'm like, I could talk about this stuff, but for me, it's like not valuable. Those are the things that I got to start talking about. And that's what we talked about before the session. Like start to teach people the basics. And then as they grow, teach them the real game, how this stuff really works, which is what you and I were talking about behind the scenes, because I know with your self community, like you have it's a new project you've been launching, and you had some great success as well too. You've sold a few businesses and you focus now partnering with people because you understand what most people don't get, which is there's only so much money you can make yourself. The real game is when we help other people make money. That's the real game. That's why I was looking forward to this call, because I say, yeah, this is going to be a great conversation, because this is the real conversation. How can we help others win? That's when you actually win-win.
Love that. Talk to me about the service of speaking framework, because, there's a lot of people speaking. Dude, I'd rather die than be on stage. I mean, there are people with that feeling.
Yeah.
And
I was that.
You were. Me. Okay. I was just wondering if you naturally came out and you just had, because you got a great personality, man. It comes across very good, on stage. It's cosmetically sound is what I would say.
Appreciate that.
But you're saying, no, I didn't come out of the womb and just I wasn't just crushing it.
Not at all, brother. I came out of the womb stuttering. I had a very bad stuttering problem. It was really bad. Like I would be the child that used to go, like I joke about this all the time. I tell my people all the time. It's like I would have a 5-minute presentation in front of my class. And what I would do is who can I pick a fight with to get into in-school suspension? Like that was my mindset. Like, and I would literally just get in fight or argue with a teacher or something to get out of that place, because I was terrified of speaking in front of public. Like I was terrified. And I didn't know at the time, brother, that it wasn't because I wasn't intelligent. I just didn't apply myself because my dad wasn't there, and I went through a lot as a young child. I was angry. I went through a lot of things. But it was really about identity. I didn't have identity. So that lack of identity kind of made me mute. It was like, it just made me shy. It made me like, well, you know what? I was hurt with my dad not being there. I went through some difficult moments as a child, just to say I was abused and went through some things as a child through some trusted family member, things like that. And, I forgive everybody. I move on. But I didn't realize that those things made an effect on me, like that I had to kind of work through, man. Like I had to go do the hard work with God and my faith and things like that. Things I'm still working on today, And, I didn't realize at the time that they were having an effect on me. Like I used to have lies in my mind that I used to believe that used to like it would help me to stay stuck and not apply myself and not really communicate, even though I had an idea. I know the answer, but I would say, I'm not going to share it. right? Because I was so focused on me and what people thought about me just because what I went through, it really just stole my lunch. So yeah, I was not born with this thing, man. I had to go through the hard work and I tell people now and they don't believe me. They're like, so you didn't so you were stuttering? That's what you used to do? I'm like, yeah. Now I train speakers. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an uncommon story in that your weakness, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes if you're not watching on YouTube, but you took what was considered a weakness and then found your voice, literally and figuratively, and that's led to you helping a lot of people around the world. Again, you 300,000 plus person community, and I'm sure. So if I take how many people you touch, how many people they touched, that's pretty awesome. What does that community feel look like? Just I haven't had a chance to be a part of it. I'm curious. What does it look like? And why did you know, like, man, I got to create this. I need to, like you said, pay it forward. This is what fuels my, as you said, when you can help others create, make money,
That's it.
thrive, that there's not a better feeling. There's not a better way to really thrive yourself. But what does it look like for you, man? When you said, all right, this is the community. I know what I'm doing.
Well, for me, it's all about the calling, and it's all about making sure that I help as many people that want to be helped by me. That's another distinction. Like I can help. I can't help anyone that doesn't want to be helped. Right.
Mhm.
So I learned a long time ago. Stop trying to help people that want to be helped. Like I would sit down and try to like get into arguments with people. Like I could help you. Like no, I'm good. Like and I was like, okay, I'm going to create a community. I'm going to build something where I'm going to serve the people that want to be served. And it gets to a point, just to be fully transparent, where and you've been there, where you make the money and you're like, okay, what's next? Well, let me go help other people let me go help other people win. Let me go help people grow their companies and sell and get into joint ventures and grow bigger deals, right? And that's really what drives me, man. It's like I don't like. There's a lot of people that go out with like a scarcity mentality. They're trying to like compete, and this would be a good topic. Like you're not in competition with anybody but yourself. Like I wake up every day and I'm like, how can Israel David Duran get better? How can I be better? How can I be a better father? How can I be a better husband? Number one, better father, better business owner, better peer, better son, better brother. Like how can I be better? Not because I'm trying to like gain something, but because I desire to be the best that I can be. And there's things that I'm working on, right? I'm in development. But the money part is I see a lot of people struggling with the money part. And it's not because they lack integrity or they lack a calling or they're not chosen. It's just because they haven't had the right education. And that's why we build these groups. The same thing I'm sure with like what inspired you? I'm curious, what inspired you to build out the self community?
Well, the self community, what I got tired of watching actually was a ton of people. Maybe they're crushing it financially, but their relationships are complete disaster. Their health is absolutely falling apart. And here's the deal. I 100% was that guy. My second company, like my wife and I, we were almost divorced we were separated for a year, almost divorced. I was almost 300 pounds at the time.
Wow.
And again, that's just to me, I, I look out my door and you see that almost everywhere where guys and gals are crushing it financially, but at what cost? What are they sacrificing? And I finally said, this is crazy. The simple idea is if I take care of myself first, now I can be a better dad, father, brother,
Mm,
employer, whatever hat you're wearing.
mm.
So that's what inspired me, man. And thank you for
That's it.
asking because it is something I'm passionate about. And it's one of those things where it's so true what you said. You can only help the people that want to be helped. It might be my biggest frustration in this world. And as a coach, I've had to really accept and be okay with that. Have you accepted that? Have you finally said, you know what? I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to try and influence, but ultimately only you can make this decision.
That's it. I mean, I tell people all the time because I used to serve. What I was trying to do is reach the younger generation, like really deep. And we have a lot of a few young people in our program. Most of the people we work with are over 40. We even work with people in their 70s. We work with the older generation, but we also work with people that are in their 20s, right? But they're like select few. And for a while, I was just trying to work with people like under 30, and it just wasn't clicking. It was like, it was going one ear, go out the other. It's like, these people are not getting it. Like, I could literally help change their life, transform their life. And they weren't getting it. And it was just like, you need to pivot. And the moment I pivoted and then started to work with people that accepted me and said, no, I need your help. I want you to help me. And then after they learned about what we do, it was a world of a difference. And I never looked back. I'm not going to focus on helping people that don't want to be helped. And I'm not going to try to convince people either. I learned a long time ago too. Stop trying to convince people that you can help them. Let people waste 20 years of their life, and eventually they'll come back and say, so remember that thing you talked to me back in 20 years ago? Yeah, it's been going well. Yeah, I could see it's been going well. I've been following you. And, I know back then you talked to me about the price. Is it still the same price? No, it's not the same investment. You're laughing because, you probably had that conversation with some people. But I have those conversations often, and maybe not 20 years, but hey, I spoke to you a year ago, 2 years ago. It's because sometimes people have to go through some things. And that's what I learned, that the younger generation, if someone's young listening to this podcast right now, and you have an opportunity to learn from somebody like JM or whoever that can help you in the area that you want to grow, like, run with it. Because these opportunities literally come once in a lifetime. And I meet people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, like the majority of our people that we work with and partner with. Like, they literally say, like, dude, we wish you would have found you 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Like, we have videos of people cry, like emotional. I have tons of testimonials. People crying, like tears come, grown men and women saying, I was trying to find someone like you, and I just couldn't find them. 20 years, 25 years, 15 years. So I just made a decision, JM, like, JM, that I'm like, you know what? I'm not going back.
When you pivoted, what did that look like? Because I think any business owner, entrepreneur has been at that place where they're stuck, right? And like you said, you're the same guy. You're the same guy that's got incredible content and you can help, but you're not reaching the right audience. It's not being received at that point. One of the challenging things is to make that decision, like, because you invested so much time and energy in this one thing.
For sure.
Now I'm going to pivot. But then it is funny how it's one of those lessons that we need to go through. What was that pivot like that you were like, yeah, man, I know this is just the right thing? Again, maybe it's faith, because you've said that many times. You're clearly a man of faith. When did you know it's time for me to really make this shift and this pivot?
Yeah, it was, I would say it wasn't even so much more faith. It was like, and that's not taking anything away from my faith. It was like independent from faith, whether you have faith or not. It was really understanding the law. So, like, there's a law called the law of iterations. And so let me just go over it really quickly here. So, like, if anybody thinks or believes that the first time that they're going to launch something, it's going to work, we got to sit down with that person and have a conversation. Because, unless you're like LeBron James or, Steph Curry, and even them, like, Steph Curry's shot, that was like over and over again. Practice not only makes perfect, but I say practice makes purpose. Like, there's a process to perfection, right? So, like, for me, when I understood the law of iterations, it was like, hey, the first time that you're going to launch something, like, for example, like, you remember when we were kids and we used to play with the Hot Wheels cars? That was big for me. And like, we would have a Hot Wheel car and we would try to go, like, put it for point A to point B, like the other side of the track, and we would, like, move it. It rarely ever got to point B at the first time. So what do? We would take the Hot Wheel car again. We would maybe adjust something, do it again. Maybe it goes off to the right. We take it back. We say, okay, that did better. Let me try this. And it goes really far off. We're like, okay, we're not going to do that. Let's stop that. Okay, let's do it again like did it before, but let's just add this thing. And then it just keeps getting better and better. And then before we know it, typically on the 5th to 6th or 7th iteration, that's when, boom, we hit our goal. So, like, for me, my mindset is, it's not only how fast can I fail, because nothing's a failure unless you acknowledge it as so. But for me, it's just how fast can I get iterations in to test, to refine it, to get it to where I want it, right? So we have this challenge that we've been running for 29. This month coming up is our 30th challenge, back to back to back to back to back to back each month. So do the math there, and that's just one of my challenges. I've run easily over 100 events online, but I never thought that it was going to be perfect when I first launched. Like even now, I'm making adjustments to it, and it gets better and better. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it performs less than. And I say, okay, and I have to say, okay, what do we do here? Okay, let's adjust this. And we're in that process. So for me, like if somebody tells me, hey, Israel, like I don't do it for the money, even though the money is important, the monetization is important. I do it for the service and the impact that actually generates the money. But if somebody said to me, Israel, or if somebody, like I tell this to people that are getting started, I'm like, if I said to you that you were 27 no's away from landing your first $100,000 deal, like for somebody that never landed a little $100,000 deal, I'm like, because for you and I, we look at that number and we're like, it's just $100,000. For other people that haven't done it, that could be a big number. So I tell them, I'm like, if I told you that you were 27 no's away from landing your 100K deal, how fast would you want to go through the first iteration? They're like, I would do it right now. I'm like, that's the mindset you need. And that's what really helped me to really just solidify a lot, is learning that law and understanding that mindset.
Yeah, I like the idea, the fail fast. It is one of those things where I think there's a couple things that mess people up in this entrepreneur space. A, they're going to wait till it's perfect. It's like, it's never perfect. So we're clear.
Never going to launch.
You said 30th challenge, and you're like, I'm still making it better, refining.
And we've done millions with our challenge, but it doesn't mean like the money is not my, like, we arrived. That's not like, the money is not my filter to say we arrived. My filter of arriving is a vision that I have to reach 1 billion people. That's my vision, by the way. And I can't reach the 1 billion people by myself. So I look for people to literally give them my life's work so they can go and reach the people like you were saying earlier. And through that service, me empowering the people, the leaders that I serve, that's how it creates a ripple effect, as they say. But that's what drives me.
I love that. How do you know you hit 1 billion people? And I'm not saying this off. I struggle with these challenges or these goals sometimes myself. It's an amazing goal. I absolutely love it. And how do we know? And is it a goal that maybe I'll never be attained? And maybe that's what gets you out of bed. Like mine is inspire people to live their best lives. I know right now, Israel, for the rest of my life, I can get up and that goal is never going to be reached. And so it gives me something to always aspire to, right? Every single day, I'm trying to inspire people to live their best lives. And I know that's never going to happen. For you, when you say that, the 1 billion people, how do you know, brother? Will there be a moment where you're like, all right, we've done it? And how would you know? I'm just curious.
That's a great question. So there are metrics to it, which I can go through the metrics. We can get into the math and we can geek out. But I judge everything by 20s and 50s. 50 to me is a number of multiplication. And, you know, let me put it like this. Like there's two ways of looking at it. Like I was in a room not too long ago with people that controlled over 1 billion people in terms of traffic. Just to put in perspective. Now, in terms of actually reaching them and actually like serving them, maybe I'll never see it in my lifetime. Maybe it's something that I'll see on the other side. But what I know is that my metrics of my goal, what I promised myself, like what I'm aiming for, that's fixed. That doesn't change. My strategy is what can improve to reach that goal or help myself fill that gap, right? So for me, what I do is I look for leaders or becoming leaders that already have people under them, like I have, community and people, and collaborate and help work together to be able to serve people through this vision called the service of speaking. Because I believe that the highest level of service is actually speaking. It's sharing the wisdom, the knowledge, the expertise, the education that you have in the industry that you're called to serve. Now, realistically, and this is something that I've thought through, in order to reach 1 billion people, it needs to be multi-language and multi-generational. It makes it easier when it's multi-generational. But more importantly, it needs to be in different continents with different leaders or ambassadors that represent those different countries, that speak languages that I don't even speak. That's the way it becomes more probable than just saying, I want to reach 1 billion people, but is there even 1 billion people that speak English on Earth? Sure there is. But in America, there's only about 300 million, right? So I need to automatically expand my gift to a global vision. So what it does for me, it gives me the stretchability to say I have to grow, not because of the money. That's already been taken care of. I need to grow because of the impact. And there's a law that I love to teach on. It's called the law of impact. It's like one of my favorite things to teach on. It's what the service of speaking framework is built on. So I'm kind of touching a little bit of points of that law, but yeah, I hope that answers your question. But that's a great question. I don't think I've ever had anybody ask me that, by the way.
Well, look, these are things that I like to dream big. And sometimes I put something out and then I'll go, because I'm not a detail oriented person, I'll be like, how the hell am I going to know if I actually hit it? But I like what that said, what that meant for service of speaking. You said, like, yes, 300, 400 million, whatever it is in the States. Well, obviously, we got to go outside of that. We got to go reach into, these other countries to deliver. So immediately it did expand the way you're thinking about building your business, which is awesome. You've mentioned a couple of laws. This is clearly something that is, I guess, maybe foundational for you. It's kind of like you mentioned the law of impact. You mentioned a previous law, and I didn't write it down, unfortunately.
The law of iterations.
Yes, thank you. Do you these laws, are these like, because I say them often as well in my house, and yet I rarely hear people speak about it. And immediately as you're talking, I'm thinking of John Maxwell's the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, because you're like, the law of this. And I love it because now we're talking what I really think are universal laws. So 100%. Do you have kind of a principle-based laws that have really guided you?
I could stay on here for you for the next 25 hours. I have so many laws. It's pretty nuts. Like when people come to my stuff, like, because like I'm a believer, like I'm a person of faith, but even regardless with the faith, like if people just follow the laws, like the principles, they work for everybody. It doesn't matter how tall you are, how small you are, how young you think you are, how old you are. As long as you're willing to like apply the laws, the principles that work, like the law of gravity, for example. No one's going to argue the law of gravity. They're not going to come and say, I have faith to, come against gravity. Like, no, it's going to work here in China, in Brazil, in Africa, and here in Connecticut, in Florida. It's going to work everywhere. So that's why I love to teach principles, because when you teach principles, you help people to become, and they will stumble upon success. But when you just teach people what to do, some will get it, some may not. And I don't like to do theory. So yes, I love teaching principles and laws, and I geek out with all that stuff.
Yeah. So what I heard is you're not teaching somebody how to just, I'm not just going to catch a fish. You're teaching them how to fish is really that whole idea where it's like, look, you're not serving them if it's like, let me go ahead, son. Oh, it's on the line. You reel it in.
And you handicap them. So I teach people how to become fishermen. Like, so it's like the highest level coaching programs are where you teach people how to become. Be, do, have. That's actually a law. That's the law of success. You first have to be, then you do, then you have. It's not like first let me get it and then I'll be. That doesn't work. Talk to lottery winners. They miss out on all the money in under 3 years. Some of them in under a year. Sadly. Why? Because you will never out-earn your mindset. You will never out-earn your mindset. You got to get there in your mind first. If your capacity is not there yet, the best thing you can do if you get an inheritance or, a lottery ticket is find a mentor like JM here and invest what it takes to work with him. Find advisors, find people that can help you so you don't lose what you receive. And that's a word for somebody. I see it time and time again. People missing out on inheritances because they think, I already know it. I read this book over here. I saw this video on YouTube, and they end up making mistakes that are damaging. Don't do it. Seek out help. If you don't know something, ask. It's okay. We haven't, it's not your fault either, too. We haven't had the right education, especially in America. Like in America, don't get me started on this one, brother. In America, back in 1902, John D. Rockefeller, and he did a lot of good, but John D. Rockefeller back in 1902, he said, I want a nation of workers and not of thinkers. Don't take it from me, just do the research. And that's what founded or what really accelerated the General Education Board. I'm not against education. I'm not against it. I'm actually for education. It's actually the step number one in the law of impact, but it's not the education that people think. You know, like when I say education, people think college, university. When I say education, I'm thinking about specialized education.
Well, you must be in my house or listening in, because we have this conversation quite literally every day. The Rockefeller thing, guys, I'm not going to take you down the rabbit hole, but it's deep, it's dark, and it's a bit scary. I will tell you that in terms of what the direction of education, look, education reform that needs to take place in our schools for us to really get something from it. He also, by the way, if you don't like our medical, guess who 100% backed a lot of the really amazing doctors that came from Harvard Med School? Guess what? Who had the curriculum of that? Anyway, I don't want to derail the conversation.
You don't have to derail that. This is part of the call, brother. This is it. You know, ignorance is not bliss like people think. Ignorance has the power to harm and destroy.
But so often, and we talked about this earlier with the beliefs, people would rather put their head in the sand and go, no, you're tinfoil hat guy. And even today, two of my best friends, we were having a conversation on something that we were taught it's X, okay? And I 1000% have done the research, and I'm like, it's unequivocal. It's not true. My best friends still today are like, you're crazy. And I guess I'm okay with that. I'm 100% being okay with that, because again, the veil will be lifted for them eventually, I believe. But it is one of those things where it's like, when you have that awakening, which I think has really been, for me, the last 5 years, I always educated myself in the way of reading. But some of the stuff was so indoctrinated. It was like critical thinking, man. It just wasn't, even for myself, it wasn't there. And I think that's what you're saying, is we need to teach people to think critically, to be able to be independent thinkers and think for yourself.
That's how we grow. Because again, I don't want to get into on the government side, but what I'll say is this. When you, I'm going to teach on the law of barriers now. I have like 7 laws in my mind right now that I want to teach. I'm just going to teach on the law of barriers. Why do we go to the gym? Like, we go to the gym, like, to get to work out, right?
Work out our mind and our body. Just my thought.
When I tell people that we literally go to the gym to harm ourselves, they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, I was in the gym this morning, and they almost got me. It was almost like they hit me hard this morning in the group training. I do a lot of HIIT training, but essentially we go there to literally increase our heart rate, to pick up weights that are literally tearing our muscles up. You know, that our body's saying, "Don't do this," and we literally seek the pain. We seek the barrier. Why? We seek the resistance because it's only in the resistance that we get stronger. What happens when you give everything for free, or you just help them and you have good intentions, you handicap them and you make them weak. And I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, because I don't have a filter, and I use wisdom when I speak, but this is important. The educational system here in America has created a weak nation. And because we've been trained to go through a test system, we've been trained to be workers, but not thinkers. So yes, I am for critical thinking, and I am for specialized education that helps people through discovery. Because memorization is not intelligence. Memorization is how you train people to do something. It's how you create slaves. But I don't want to go there now because of the time. The better environment, and this is why I love doing live events, because live events, I love them. I love it's my thing. Because I create an environment where people can discover And it's just like they're listening to the material, but then they're saying, "Ooh, I like that. Oh, I got it. Oh, wow, that's good." And now they're taking ownership of the material themselves. And then they go and teach the material, and then they know it. Versus me telling them, "Okay, what year did Christopher Columbus come to the, that stuff, what is that?" Right? So I get a lot of slack because I got a lot of teachers in my community, and they laugh at me sometimes when I talk about this. But it's important. It really is important.
Look, my mom was a teacher,
and our children's generations to come.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. My mom was a teacher for 39 years. Look, if you think the educational system that we grew up in should still be the same, especially with AI. Look, I don't need to know I need to be able to think, but I need to be able to prompt it. They can grab the numbers like that. And I can't remember what book it was, but Henry Ford is like, look, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I have people surround with me, because he was being asked the questions over and over. You're not an educated man. He's like, I'm the smartest guy in this room because I have people around me that can answer that question. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, because I wrote it down earlier. Investing in yourself. This is something that I find fascinating. When you talked about the gym, I tell people, go pay for a gym that, is a couple of $100, something that makes you want to go. You need to want to go. This idea of free, people don't value it. And that's one of the challenges that I'm seeing out there, especially, I'll just give an example, the self-community. I can't afford it. And I'm like, I understand. And yet you can't afford not to. What are your thoughts on it, man? If people don't have a vested interest, can they really get out of it what they're looking for?
That which is free is not worth anything to the buyer, right? To the person that comes. Or another way of looking at it is, that which costs nothing is worth nothing. The person that is not vested won't be as attentive. Now, are there exceptions to the rule? Of course there are. Like, I teach on Joseph all the time, one of my favorite persons of history, Joseph. Back in his when you read his life and what he did in Egypt, Joseph was a great example. Joseph was in prison for 12 years, was a slave for 18. He's a Hebrew boy that's in prison for 12 years. Two people come in and they had a problem. They got kicked out of Pharaoh's, essentially palace, and there was a butler and a baker. And they had dreams that they needed to interpret. Joseph helped them out. He interpreted one. One got restored back to the office. Another one did not. And Joseph didn't charge anything. Right? He did it for free. But what happened? When the butler was on the inside, it came to pass that one day he said, wait a second. You're going through the same problem that I had when I was in the prison. And it was when you were mad at me, you threw me in the prison, Pharaoh. This guy helped me out. You should call him, right? So then what did they do? Pharaoh then calls Joseph. Joseph walks into the palace, a man that's in prison for 12 years, 18 as a slave. And in one conversation, because he was trained, he knew the service of speaking, was able to literally pick up his biggest client, literally from rag to riches, literally from the prison into the palace. Where then Pharaoh said, he pulled out his gold ring, he changed his clothes, gave him the second chariot, made him second in command of all Egypt, the biggest superpower at the time, at the world at that time in history, all because he helped someone for free. So I'm not the person that says, don't do it for free. It's just, who are you serving for free? It has to be someone that actually values that work. So what do? I have my books that I give away. There's a couple books that I give away. There's like lead magnets, and I would love to give you in the community a gift. We typically sell it, but I would love to just give it to the audience. For those that want to learn more about laws and stuff and how to take their business online with speaking. But we got to be able to give value. And again, I'm kind of going into the law of impact because there's some principles in there too. But for the majority of people, it has to be paid. Because if it's not paid, they won't care. It has to cost them something so they could be in it, right? That's why some people that go and they go to a gym that costs them $10 a month, they never go. Why? Because to them it doesn't cost them anything. But if they paid a couple $100, they're going to think twice if they're going to show up.
It's true, man. I'll tell you, I've learned that even for myself and I tell people all the time when they're considering, oh, I want to hire you, or I'm like, look, consider bringing me on for whether it be rev share or an equity basis, because I have an extra gear and I don't like it about myself. Like, I want to give 100% to every project. When you have ownership, it's just a whole nother level. It just is.
100%.
Brother, I could
And
ask you questions. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, and you're like one of the world's best at sales leadership and systems, like sales systems. And like for someone we've talked offline, like with what you do, like, yes, people need to take care of you because you're helping companies literally break through records, double, triple. I mean, that's what we do. I mean, you got to charge, because then it becomes a thing where then they will understand the cost, and that will handicap the business. So it's all about the law of exchange there. That's another law. But yes.
Well, like I said, man, I could ask you questions all day, but you're a fascinating dude. I want my people to know more about the laws. So they want to go learn about service of speaking. They just want to be a part of your community. Where is the best place to find you, whether it be online, social media? What's the best place to connect with you, Israel?
Yeah, what I would love to do is I would love to give a gift that we typically charge for, but it will be a free cost, no cost. But people do need to DM me a specific word, because if they don't DM me the specific word, it will ask them like for the investment for it. So all you got to do is find me on Instagram. You can go to my website too, israelduran.com. You find my little Instagram logo, you click on that, and you direct message me the word blueprint, and then our team will go ahead and send that free gift out. But it's the word blueprint, and that's our online business blueprint that contains several of the laws and our service of speaking framework for helping you to grow online.
Guys, look, I just said I want you to invest. He gave away a free gift. I promise you it's worth its weight in gold. Brother, you are an amazing guy. Thank you for coming on and sharing and just being as authentic and open. I love when I have guests that they're not putting on a show. It's just we're having a great conversation. You're one of those human beings, man. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wow. So, I mean, let's just start with the millionaire mindset, the mindset to really create that abundance. It's true. It's not where you came from. It's not the education that you received. It's literally a mindset. And as he talked throughout about the law of impact, the law of he gave several other laws that I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so good. The law of boundaries, that was the one that I couldn't think of law of barriers, excuse me. That was the one where I was like, dude, that's really, really good. And then he gives away a free gift to everyone just because he's a part of the show. So here's what I would tell you guys. DM him, go to his website, israelduran.com, go to his Instagram and put in blueprint. I learned a ton listening to the guy. I got his cell phone afterwards. 100% he's going to be somebody I'm going to have in my life for a long, long time. And I just hope that you guys plug into his community as well, because that was a really, really fun, cool conversation. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Please make sure to share this with somebody that you know that can get the value and impact that Israel brought to the show. And if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel for Let's Go Win. And until next time, you guys, remember, your mindset matters. I appreciate y'all. We'll talk soon.